I've had this game in my review backlog for such a long time now, and I finally decided, you know what, let's go for it. It's time to talk about Sonic R. Sonic R has such an interesting history and very mixed emotions about the game online. You hear all kinds of things like this game is terrible, to, it's not that bad, and even, this game's actually kind of good. But what can you draw from this? What's the conclusion? Is this game good, bad, kind of eh? Well, I'm not going to say that this is the review to end it all. However, I want to give you my genuine and honest review about the game, and I want to give you my conclusion. Is the game good, bad, kind of eh? Well guys, let's find out. It's Sonic R for Sega Saturn.
Ready, set, go!
Released on November of 1997, Sonic R hit the shelves. Sonic R is a racing game, but it's a little bit different from your typical average racer. See, Sonic R has you racing on foot. You are the car, there are no vehicles. With the exception of like 2 characters, but this game, you are racing on foot. And I think it is a great idea. It perfectly fits the Sonic franchise. Sonic is known for running fast, so having all the characters in this game run for racing is a great idea, and I think it fits perfectly. They really nailed it. However, just because it's a good idea on paper, doesn't mean it actually translates out to being good. You see, one of the things that Sonic R is notoriously known for is the really bad controls. So when racing in this game, the controls are just, they're awful. I'm sorry, they're terrible. I wish I could try and defend this and justify it, but it is really bad. You're constantly sliding off the stage and slamming into walls, and it's just bad. I mean, after a while when you play it, you go from thinking it's terrible to like, yeah, it just kind of works. But like, just because it kind of works doesn't make it really any better. It's really bad. It's just, I just wish it was a little better. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, the Sega Saturn had an analog controller, so couldn't you just use that to help you out? And you're right, it did have an analog controller. However, unfortunately, this was programmed with a D-pad, so whether you have an analog controller or the D-pad controller, you're gonna get the same results, unfortunately. So you're kind of out of luck for the controller standpoint and how the game controls, and yeah, it's pretty bad. One of the other things about Sonic R is the tracks, or well, I should say lack of tracks, because this game has 5 tracks. Yeah, I said that, 5 tracks. If you look at the games that came out, during this time, you had Mario Kart 64 that had a ton of tracks. I mean, the original Super Mario Kart had more tracks than this. Now, granted, a lot of those tracks in that game were all the same looking, but it had more options at least. And so that's one of the things that I really don't like about this game, because I can get past the controls to a certain point. Like, it's not a huge deal. But the amount of tracks that this game doesn't have is just super disappointing. Like, it just leaves you wanting so much more, because I actually enjoy this game. I really do. Like, I actually think it's a great idea. It's a lot of fun. And with the amount of tracks it doesn't have, it's just super disappointing, because you see everything there is to see within a half hour, right? I mean, with the amount of tracks you don't have mixed with the bad controls, it makes it feel more like an E3 tech demo rather than a full retail game. And it's really disappointing. But let's move on to a positive here, okay? One of the things that I will say that's good about this game is the characters. I think they have a good character selection in this game. Now, some people would probably argue that, they could have picked other characters, or why is this character here, or whatever. Maybe not everyone's happy with character selection. I actually like the character selection. There's a good amount of characters to choose from, and I think they made a good choice in the characters that they chose. Now, one of the things I don't like is unlocking the characters. Unlocking the characters can be a huge pain. However, on the flip side of that, that's where you're gonna get the most time out of this game is if you go for unlocking all the characters and getting 100%, right? But the problem is, it's difficult because you have to get these coins throughout the stage and place in third in order to get a chance to race the character, and you have to beat the character, of course, to unlock it. But these coins can be in such awful places, and it's hard enough trying to stay on the main path to race. But if you're having to go through these secret exits and side turns and stuff, it makes it so much more difficult to finish the race. Like, it's doable, but that doesn't mean it's easy or enjoyable. So that's one of the really things. It's like, yes, if you get more characters, you know, you will get more playtime out of this game, but it's also a pain, so is it really worth your time? So there's two sides to that story. One of the other things I'll say about this game is the music. The music is a banger. It is one of the best things of this game. And I've heard people online say that they don't like it because it's not standard racing music. Like, it's not what you usually hear in racing games. And I'm like, bruh, this is one of the best things of this game. I listen to this soundtrack on my own free time because it's that good. And I'm gonna argue here that this game isn't a standard racing game in general, so I think it works perfectly fine. This is one of the best things of the game. The soundtrack is amazing. I absolutely love it. So then, after hearing me ramble on about Sonic R and all of its flaws and good points and whatnot, what's my conclusion? Well, my conclusion is, this game is terrible, and yet I absolutely love it. It's Sonic R for Sega Saturn.